Why is Cyprus so significant?
Well, Cyprus is significant for several reasons. First, it marks an escalation in what we call austerity economics. It is an effort to pay for the cost of this now 6-year-old global crisis in a new way. It is an effort to fund the bailouts of banks in a new way. And the new way was agreed last week by the European forces that control this, the Central Bank, the European Union, and the IMF, and to impose on Cyprus this new step, which is literally to go into the bank accounts of the citizens of Cyprus, roughly 1 million people in a small island in the middle of the Mediterranean, and snatch money out of their accounts. See, unlike other austerity, where you levy a tax and you cut back social programs, like we're doing here in the United States, that money dribbles in over a year or longer period. This way, the government can get the money to bail out the banks quickly and cleanly and neatly. Friday night, the people of Cyprus went to bed with a certain amount of money in their accounts, they thought, and Monday morning, last Monday, they were supposed to awake with X% less money because the government had taken it. So that's an amazing new step of austerity. It suggests that this crisis is far from over and that the authorities are desperate to find the money, other than by taxing corporations, other than by taxing the wealthy, in order to solve their problems. The second reason it's important, and you stressed that, is that the people of Cyprus woke up, took one look at this, and said no, and did it dramatically. And in a matter of hours, they undid everything that the European governments and their own government had agreed to a few nights earlier. So it's a demonstration of people power in this little corner of the world that's very impressive and the basis, I think, for some optimism about opposition. How
did they say no?
Basically by saying we're going to disrupt everything. We're not going to go to work. We're not going to consume. We're going to call on our fellow citizens across Europe to recognize that if they can come into our bank account and take our money, then what is exactly going to happen in places like Italy, Spain, Portugal, Hungary, Britain, where very similar situations are playing themselves out? So this call for solidarity around this issue terrified all the other governments of Europe, and suddenly the firmly committed deal unraveled in the face of popular resentment and opposition.
How did Cyprus get to this point?
Cyprus is a small country. Its economy is based on 3 things. Tourism, it's a very pleasant place for Northern Europeans to go. Shipping, as befits an island. But above all, what is euphemistically called finance. In the go-go years of the 1990s and early in this century, what the banks in Cyprus did is offer themselves around the world as a wonderful place to come and make a deposit. We will convert whatever currency you have into euros, which is a very good currency to have. We will pay you an unusually high interest rate. We will ask no questions. This is often called good banking. So they got a lot of deposits. To give you an idea, depending on the estimates you believe, the total deposits in the banks of Cyprus were 5 to 8 times larger than the total GDP, the total output per year of that economy, which is an absurd situation. And those banks in Cyprus took all those deposits, and then they did what banks are supposed to do: find prudent, safe, non-risky investments. And like all big banks in the last 20 years, they failed. They found bad investments. They didn't do it prudently. They misassessed the risk, and then the banks fell apart. Since that's an outsized part of the Cyprus economy, the whole Cyprus economy, already impacted by this crisis with less tourism and less shipping, now saw its banks defunct, bankrupt basically, and appealed to Europe to bail them out, which is the standard procedure now in Europe as these economies have such trouble.